What's up, everybody? It's your favorite photographer's favorite nerd, and today we're going to take a look at the Maketoys visualizers versus the FansToys spotter, otherwise known as Reflector. This is on loan to me from myself. I did have to purchase both of these, and today we're going to take a look at these and do a comparison. But to do that, first we're going to have to take a look at accessories. All right, we're going to start off with accessories, but first, before we do that, I just want to give you my disclaimers. So first of all, this is my opinion. So I rank these two sets of figures by the categories you're going to see in the bottom right corner, and most of them are very subjective. So therefore, they're going to be my opinion. If you own one or the other of these and you're happy with that, however this comparison comes out, then you win, right? If you like what you got, then you win. I just want to give my opinion. I know a lot of people can't get both of these. It's just not something they can afford to do. So I'm doing that as a service, and you guys can look at this and make up your own mind about which one you like better and buy the one that you prefer. All right, with that being said, let's take a look at these. So here are all the accessories. They come with a lot of stuff, both of them. They also both come with instructions, so I didn't really include that here. Neither of them come with collector's cards, so that's kind of off the table here. Let's go one by one. So they both come with a single gun each. I don't know which one is more accurate. I kind of like the look of the FansToys one a little bit better. The Maketoys ones has a little bit of waffiness to it, but it is kind of the design. But either way, they both come with 3 guns, so we'll take those out of the mix. They both come with cameras, little mini cameras that can be held by Megatron or Soundwave or anybody. Again, I would argue the FansToys one has got some really nice paint on it. It looks really good, but because they both come in, we'll call those equal. They both get that. They both come with a flash here, and they both turn into weapons. So if you open up this here on the Maketoys, you get this rocket launcher, and there's a handle on it. So any one of these guys can hold it. That's kind of neat. But the FansToys one turns into 3 weapons. So if you open this up, and it's kind of really a lot. I mean, it almost feels like they went too far. But if you take this off, you can detach that. Then you can detach this, and everything kind of comes apart there. And you'll see inside there's these little kind of holders. And in these holders, there's these knives. And they're actually painted on the ends there. So each of them comes with a knife. I think there's a third one right here. Yeah, it's stuck in there. So each one of these come with a knife. That's a cool little accessory. I don't remember these guys ever having knives in the show. I don't remember ever seeing them wield them or hold them or use them or stab anybody. But they come with them. It's kind of cool. They just fit an extra accessory in there. They didn't need to do that. So because of that, that's a little edge here for FansToys because you get another weapon out of this. And then these parts actually become another weapon, which is crazy. So you can see there's little handles right here for the robots to hold. So what you can do is take this, push this flash piece back, and it actually engages this handle and pushes the handle back too. All right, all the way back to there. And I'm probably never ever going to do this again. But then you take this lens piece, and there's a little tab there, and that's going to tab right into there, and then you get this little gun. And that does fit into their hands. It's just kind of a dumb, I don't know, I don't really like that. But it's a thing you can do, and then it pegs into the top of his arm. You see there's a little peg hole there, and that secures it to his arm. So it is nice and tight. It's a well thought out thing. It's just it's just too far. I don't think they needed to do that. They could have just made the lens into, one thing. But it's a pretty neat use of the accessories. So you get that. Let's move that to the side. So you do have that as kind of an extra. And then you get 2 sets of faces per robot. Whereas the Maketoys, you get the 1 set. Then the Maketoys is not painted, it's just the white plastic with the red eyes. And if you look at the FansToys, you get the painted silver with the metallic red eyes. So very nicely done faces. So there you get that, so you get double the amount of faces. And then the last thing you get is these Energon Cubes, which is very nice. I love that they give you these. I think you get them with the Insecticons. I can't remember. Maybe you get 3 of these again. But I like little stuff like that. You just get a ton of stuff. With the Maketoys, you do get this, and this will allow you to mount the camera to an actual camera mount. I don't know if anybody anywhere would ever do this, but it does allow you to do it. It's a cool little extra feature, so I'm going to include that. But because of just the sheer volume of stuff you get with FansToys, I'm going to have to give accessories to FansToys. All right, next we're going to talk about build. And these are both very different builds. The Maketoys is pretty much primarily plastic all throughout. It does have some ratchet joints here and there, especially the legs, but they're kind of soft ratchets. For the thighs, you know, you've got just a friction joint, and that tends to be loose. You can tighten it up, but it does tend to be loose. On the FansToys, I'm just going to pick one of them. Everything is really tight, and there is die cast. You have some die cast here on the bottom of the feet. Some of the legs is die cast, and everything is kind of really solid, and just it's pretty well tolerance. So you feel things feel more premium and more secure. And that's not to say anything about transformation. That's a whole different story. But when it comes to build, especially the feel overall, we're going to give that to FansToys. All right, next we're going to talk about the paint. So if you look up close, there really isn't a whole lot of paint on the Maketoys. So you've got a little bit of this red paint here on the arms, forearms. We've got the white and red here on the legs, and that is it. There is no other paint on this guy. Now, this translucent with the metallic behind it looks really good. I really like the look of that. It is not G1 cartoon accurate, but it looks really nice. Whereas if you look at the FansToys, it's got paint kind of all throughout. So the chest is all painted. All the silver is painted, the green. You've got this gunmetal gray, and then you've got the silver in here. You've got on the leg the purple here, the light purple. I can't tell if this is just... I think that's painted. I'm going to say that's painted here on the side. On the back, I think you just have plastic. But overall, and then the face is like fully painted. You got that red with the metallic... or the metallic red eyes with the silver face, whereas the Maketoys is just plastic. So paint really is no contest, and that's true for these other two who are clones. Same kind of thing. You got the whole chest painted, and then the front of the legs painted, whereas on the Maketoys, just a little stripe here. Oh, by the way, this does have the stripe. So in terms of paint, pretty easy call there. We're going to give that to FansToys. All right, next we're going to talk about the Sculpt. So in order to do that, we're going to put the image of the G1 cartoon there of all 3 of these guys. And they both look really good. I like the look on these. But to me, the FansToys really, really nails the cartoon. This green and just the overall aesthetic and look, and then the face sculpts are just dead on to me. And then their colors, so the Maketoys has kind of got a more bright purple and a bright white, whereas the FansToys got that gray matte color and then this kind of lighter purple, and it really looks like it just came right out of the cartoon. It's just dead on to me. The only thing that's not really dead on to me on the FansToys is these feet. So in the cartoon, they kind of look more like this, but they don't have this white piece. They're just purple. Whereas on the FansToys, you've got this. But you can actually fold that in. So if you didn't want that look, you could pretend like they really look like this. And it still stands. So it's not like a big deal. It's obviously more stable with the feet out. But that's my only thing I would say is not quite cartoon accurate, is those little feet sticking out. But because of that, I'm going to give the Sculpt to FansToys. So let's take a look at the articulation. So these guys pretty much have the exact same articulation on the FansToys. So I'm not going to really go over that. I just wanted to show you These are pretty much twins all the way through and through, whereas these are a little bit different on the Maketoys. So the knees are a little bit more hindered, so you get up to there. So you can kind of get a 90-degree bend. You don't get that full double jointed knee, even though there is a double joint. There's a joint here, and then there's this joint here. But because of the way it's built, it just doesn't get the double knee. The only other difference here is the waist is a little bit hindered because of this backpack here. It does run into that. And then the feet, those push in, so you just pop those out, but you get the same movement here. It rotates, and an ankle tilt and an ankle pivot. So you get all the same motion, but it's a little bit more hindered on the side robots, these two. So pretty darn close for these two sets. They're both pretty well articulated, but I think there's a little bit of limitations with these two guys, the side robots in the camera mode, and whereas these have the exact same articulation as these, they're all three the same. They're pretty much twins. So just by a hair, by a nose, I'm going to give articulation to FansToys. All right, here we have them in their alt modes, and it does take a bit of effort to get them both here. But let's take a look at the G1 cartoon, and in my book, the FansToys very, very close to the G1 cartoon. There's some color things here, but overall, for example, the lens very close. The overall color scheme a lot closer to the cartoon. The purples and the grays they used hit a lot closer than the white and the kind of royal purple they used here. So I think the colors and the overall scheme here look a lot better. But let's turn to the camera itself. You'll see from the side, the Maketoys is a lot wider, but then the lens is actually smaller, whereas the FansToys is thinner, but then the lens is bigger. And this actually looks a lot more like a real camera, and also a lot more like the G1 cartoon. And it feels kind of right in the hand. The Maketoys is just a little too wide. You end up holding it like this, and it's kind of wide. And then if you look at the back here, you can see the FansToys is pretty clean, kind of from all angles, not a lot of gaps and stuff. Everything kind of closes up very nicely. And then on the back, you've got this symmetrical look. They both are pretty symmetrical, so you can take this extra button here and plug that in, so you can have two buttons. And they actually do push in; they're spring-loaded. But if you look at the top, the FansToys pretty much just top of the robots, whereas the Maketoys got all this detail. It's got this little fake screen here, some other buttons, and some other little dials and stuff. And while I appreciate the effort to make this look more realistic like a camera, it makes it look further away from the cartoon and further away from the character. So I'm not really a big fan of the, putting in this extra stuff just for the sake of making it look more like a camera. I think this is good enough to look like the camera. The flash looks good. I like the chrome here. So, and then the lens itself, although I do like the metallic behind the lens here, the lens overall on this one just looks more realistic. This one kind of has a lot of breakup and holes in it. So in terms of the alt mode, I'm going to give that to FansToys. It just, for me, hits the camera feel a lot better than the Maketoys one. But let's talk about transformation to get here. So both of these are kind of a challenge to transform. They have different issues. So the Maketoys, it is pretty much all in one except for the flash. This lens and then this top part, viewfinder, they all do become part of the robot. So a little piece goes here, a piece goes here, and then this viewfinder becomes the middle robot. And that's kind of neat. I do like the fact that it does that. But there are some panels and stuff that are kind of hard to peg in, like for example this right here. That's just kind of a pain to get it all pegged in correctly. And then back here, the legs, you got to get it just perfectly right so it'll sit and flush on top. Actually, now you can see this panel's kind of popping off. But you can get it, you just got to fiddle with it and get it here. The same is true for this guy. So there are some areas, especially up here, trying to get this whole thing pegged in is really a pain. I got it finally, but just getting this together, if I had been doing that on camera, it would have been I would either have to fast forward or skip, because there's no way to get this all done cleanly on camera in a smooth and quick fashion. So this top part is definitely an irritation. The rest of it, though, is very nice and clean. You get pretty similar transformation for all three robots, and they're all kind of very straightforward, except for this top part here. I don't really like the fact that this is not built in, right? So that kind of is a separate thing, and they did make weapons out of it. I just feel like it's just the fact that these two things are separate and they're not integrated makes it a little bit weaker of a transformation. So because they both kind of have their drawbacks and issues, I'm going to give them a tie on transformation, just because there's not really anything that's making me love one more than the other. Then let's talk about engineering. So engineering wise, I think Maketoys did a little bit more here. So the fact that they've got the lens that splits up and sits on their back, and it's all in one transformation versus having separate pieces. And I do appreciate that they give you the weapons, right? These turn into weapons, but I don't really need the weapons. Honestly, they all come with guns, and those guns are good enough. I don't need the knives. I don't need the little weird, lens guns. It's just strange. And so I do think that building this in, although it did sacrifice a little bit, it's a little bit more ingenious of engineering to get it to do that. Overall, I'm going to give engineering to Maketoys just because there's a little bit more creativity in terms of how they got it to transform. I'm not a huge fan of this lens here. And actually, I would have preferred if they just made it solid, because the breakup kind of gives these lines on the lens. And I would have preferred just a solid lens that separates, and I don't know, could have been something else for the robots. And the final factor here is the cost. The Maketoys Visualizers was released at $145 retail, and the FansToys was released at $155 retail. The Maketoys also reissued these, I think, at $130. But either way, Maketoys wins on price. So final thoughts on these two guys. They're both really good sets, but you can see by the score that FansToys is taking it here. And I guess I'm not too surprised. I'll be honest, if you already own the Maketoys and you're looking to get the FansToys, you're going to pay a pretty penny. So it's probably not worth changing out just because of the price of these items. But as far as just the overall feel and aesthetic, for me personally, I prefer the FansToys. Now, that's not to say these aren't good. These do have a lot of appeal. One of the things that really appeals to me is the chest, that metallic look behind the chest. No, it's not cartoon accurate, but it just looks cool. And they're fun. They're fun to play with. The FansToys tends to be a little bit stiffer and not as you want to be a little bit more delicate with it, whereas the Maketoys feels like you can mess with it and it's not really going to break. But same token, doesn't feel as masterpiece as the FansToys. If you've already got this guy or even the KFC ones and you like those, then you win. So, but thanks for watching. I appreciate all the comments. Feel free to leave your thoughts below, what you think about these sets. I'm totally open to your opinions. I just want to give my opinion here in this review. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.